I want to start first showing you this link. If you go to regenERA.city,
it marked the birth of regenERA,
you will enter into our super cute page,
thousands of projects and ideas throughout the decade,
where you will learn about the story of regenERA. And regenERA came to be when we were thinking how to amplify the voices and the messages that we want to put out into the world. And what we thought about is that it would be amazing to have a place that somehow represents some of these ideas, some of these visions and futures that allows us to imagine within a wireframe, which is something that we do and that we teach in our program through world building and futurism. And so we decided to create this fictional story of regenERA, which is a
Oh. We're launching regenERA as a virtual world. You're in it right now. Okay. But it might take other forms throughout the decade.
Do you think it's there? Or am I hearing myself?
You can click mute tab button. And yeah, there you go. I think that's it.
Let me mute here.
Yeah, we're still hearing it actually.
Is it that one? So I still hear it.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's good.
Okay. All right. So we came up with this idea of a floating city. Is the epitome of a solar punk city that appears in the sky all of a sudden in 2020 and starts docking into different cities in the world. And this city has figured out new ways of governance, and it's a city filled with completely managed by natural energies and filled with plants, and where many of the things that we believe in have been put in practice. And so we thought that it would be a really nice wireframe for anybody to be part of. And so we ended up creating, so if you come here to the website, you'll learn about the story, you'll meet some of the super cute characters, you'll be able to access the virtual worlds, and you'll just get a handle around the story. But if you go to the launchpad, you'll be able to get into the actual city. The city lives in between two platforms. One of them is New York City. And so in New York City, you can access MORA, which is the equivalent of MoMA, is our Museum of Regenerative Art. And so it's a spatial web virtual environment where you can access some of the works of the revolutionaries of the first cohort. And the second platform is Topia, which is the one that we're gonna explore right now for a minute. Topia, you were listening to Daniel, is probably our favorite tool that has been put out in the past couple years for connecting. And we've in this past year, we've been exploring a lot about building worlds in Topia and really getting a feeling of physicality in virtual meetings. And I can't tell you how fun it is to just get with a group of humans and just roam together. Actually, if you put the link in the chat, you guys can enter here and come with me.
Daniel, if he's still around, he said he'd wander around Topia with you.
Perfect. So can you put the link in the chat?
Yeah, which one do you want?
Yeah, regenERA. We'll go from here. So basically, this is worlds that you can create. They work almost like a virtual world, but the magic of Topia is that you don't need to create 3D objects, which would require a certain level of expertise to put it together. And so you would not be able to explore this in VR, for example, as you can do in some of these other spatial web virtual worlds. But it still gives you this feeling of being in a 3D world where you have this little guy in the middle that can go in front or behind objects and that can move around. And the magic is that you can build all this with just illustrations. So all of these that you see here are just objects that have been drawn. And and that you can just place and arrange, and you can create these wonderful worlds where you can place videos, audios. And so if you enter here to topia.io/regenera-deck, this is kind of like our launch pad. And so from here, you'll get a couple of videos that will explain a little bit about this world, and then you'll be able to see you have these magnificent horizons that were drawn by Gunnell, one of our revolutionaries. Let me deactivate this. And so you can just walk all of this, and in here in the Regenera deck, this is kind of our launch pad. So from here, you'll be able to access the other worlds. We've created like 5 or 4 neighborhoods that have different themes, and where you can find different types of art and experiences. And so I'll show you the 4 of them, and then I'll walk you through maybe one of them. So we have Natura, which is for all the projects that are more related with nature, and so you'll find there it's a more natural environment, super cool, super immersive, filled with plants. You also have Agora and Baki's Lab. That's the place for inventions and for all these crazy ideas coming out of Baki's mind and some other brilliant visionaries. So you have a bunch of other projects in there. That's where we host our more brainy talks and our things. You also have the art district. These are the projects that are more related to art, immersive art, performance, music. So it's a really fun one to explore. And then lastly, you have you also have Mora, as I said, that's a different platform. So I will take you through that other platform. And then you also have the village, which is for everything related to village building. And so one of the cool things is that, whenever you see your mouse turn into a hand, that means that is something that is clickable. And so whenever you can click, it will either open a window with some contextual information, or it will open a link to go to some other world. You also, this is a spatial web. So what that means is, you can hear now because I have it muted, but many of these objects have either music or sounds. So as you approach them, you'll start hearing those sounds closer, and the closer you are to them. And then the other cool thing is, like, you're seeing here my screen, and you see my face. If there were other humans around here and they would come close to me, whenever they're close enough, they will pop up in my window, and we will be able to talk and communicate. So it becomes really fun when you are like with a group of 5 or 6 friends, and you're seeing all their faces, and you start trying to walk all at the same time, so you still hear each other, and just going to places or playing hide and seek. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna give you a little short tour. Let's start with the arts district. Maybe we can visit a couple more. So if we click here, that says art district, and you can press on enter the world, and that will take us to that other world. One recommendation is Topia in general, because it's running on the web browser, is demanding on your computer. So try to have all of the programs closed, and most importantly, give it a few minutes to load. Even though you might see the first images right away, depending on your connection, but you sometimes need to give it like a couple minutes to just load all the different assets and all the content, so it's kind of ready to go. See, right now, for example, you can see some things. I could start potentially walking, but it's still a lot of things that haven't loaded. Usually a recommendation is just to leave it a couple minutes so you can digest all the data. And then these worlds are very complete. I would say each one of them have, for now, around 30 to 40 projects each. As we continue moving through the decade and new projects come to the studio, we'll continue iterating, we'll create more neighborhoods within regenERA. Like, the idea is that regenERA can really work as a real city. And so if, the same way you would go to a little cafe to craft a revolution with some other revolutionaries, you can go to our futurist cafe that lives in regenERA. You have a museum where you have some regenerative art. You have some fun that you can come and enjoy in our Regenaissance cabaret. I'll show you right now. You can organize talks in here. Like it's really an open world where like the entire regenerative movement can live and play together. And hopefully as technology increases and evolves, and as we get more resources, we'll start making this something where like hopefully right now we're like, you know, here just visiting for the day, but hopefully in a couple years it'll be a place where people will come and hang out regularly. So you'll come to any of these worlds and you'll find other humans that are, you know, have the same interests as you have, and you'll be able to come and co-create different workshops. And as you can see, it's going really slow because I have a slow computer. Usually this will be a little bit more fluid. But see, you have all these magnificent things that we have created. You can also zoom out. So if you press Command or Control minus or plus, you'll kind of zoom out. And so that will allow you to, it's a little less immersive, but it will allow you to see a little bit more of the map. So you can see where you are and what all the things are to explore. And then you can always zoom in and come back to your more immersive vision.
Is there anyone in here who has art that they made? Who's here in the room? Should we go to Moni's poetry?
Sure.
Who else is in here? We got Moni, we got Chris,
I think I've got a few things in there.
Stroopy.
Okay, my computer is going really slow. I don't know if you want to load it in yours. It's going like really, really slow. I have too many things open.
Slow motion for me. Slow motion for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna. So for example, one of the cool things that happened last year is that we encourage our revolutionaries to also create their own Topia worlds that will be part of regenERA. And so some of them created just the projects. And so when you click in the projects, you'll just see the website or whatever they did. But some of them really heard us. And so one of the most fascinating things that happened is that we had, on the one hand, we had Moni, which is Roxy's mama, and an amazing creator. She's a poet and an incredible human. And obviously she wasn't very tech savvy, but she had all these poems that were absolutely incredible. And she was like, what do I do with this? And so the easy way would have been to like just put them into a, I don't know, a Google Word or something like a Google Doc, and then just share the Google Doc for people to read them. Instead, what we did was just connect some dots, and we introduced her to Umair. Umair was one of our incredible revolutionaries, and he's an illustrator and an architect, and he was doing these incredible illustrations for his book called Tree Tech that we're about to publish. You'll be able to buy it in a physical edition, I think in October. And we connected them, and they really got along. And so Umair started to design illustrations and an entire Topia world to have Moni's poems that she got somebody to read them. And so if you come here, I'm super zoom out, but I'll zoom in. And so if you enter her world, basically you're entering into her poetry world. And I'm gonna remove the mute here. Okay, just let me show this one and you can go to another world. So as you come close to some of these worlds, you will start hearing the poems. I'm not sure we can hear them right now.
Turn off the hamburger menu.
No, you should be hearing it. Let's see. Well, you're not hearing them now, but you should. If you enter, I'm pretty sure it'll work in your computer. And so each one of these objects that you see here is one of the poems that you'll hear like.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so turn off yours.
Oh, it's because I have my sound on. Anyway. So yeah. You want to share?
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
For sustainable Earth and
Bam.
for our family. Feel free to enter this magical world. Go explore.
Spinning with the air. That is how freedom is. It's a struggling homeless man hoping to break his chains in spite of a life filled with hunger, tears, and misery. That's how freedom begins. Like a magical woman who finds uncommon beauty beyond a broken mirror, painted with faded images of
The talent of my friend and co-creator Umair.
This poem is part of the collection Multiverse Poetry Journey by Moni Shoadai, member of Design Science Studio. All poems are available in Spanish as well as English. This poem is called The Deep Ocean. All we see is oceanic water always.
If you go to regenera.city and you get to the launch pad, that's where you can find all the links to enter the different worlds.
Should we show them?
Yeah.
Ta-da! Launchpad.
So if you scroll down, you'll see the links down. That's how you access Mora.
Which is where we'll go in just a minute, kind of now.
And then where it says Topia, you have a link to each one of the worlds. And from Regenera deck, you can access all of them. We will continue growing these worlds. Like these are just the 4 starting neighborhoods. But as the decade progresses, we're going to have more worlds, more neighborhoods, and more ideas. And if you want to create a world that is regenerative in any way, and you want to kind of like turn it into whatever, it could be any niche that you can think of. I want to make a world like a neighborhood inside Regenera that is about people who recycle material. Perfect. Just create it and then talk to us. And if it fits, we'll link it and make it part of the state. That's the whole point. The whole point is that we can use this space as a creative space where you can have documents, eventually maybe like a library with all the documents for the regenerative equipment where you can access all these resources from the cooperative manual spaceship Earth, or you're gonna have like spaces for just having debates every day around the philosophical elements of the regenerative. That's the whole city and the city anyway. We're seeing here is one of the most impressive pieces that we received from Evolutionaries and they designed this incredibly. Zoom out for a second. Like we were asking some of the revolutionaries that wanted to create their own assets, to draw their own little thing that plays in here to represent their project, and most of them send like their representative little things. Some of them we help and we create for them, but like Gangan Aries sent us this massive temple with these 3 amazing crystal temples and this dragon, and it has a very also complex gamified thing where if you click on the thing, it'll give you instructions and then you can come to these rocks. And I just wanted to show you the scale of this. We're zoom out, but like this is how you would normally see it. It's like really cool, impressive and big.
Karis, I feel like you would love time in this temple. It's so good.
Yeah, that was my first thought. I was like, is there a temple? Is there a place to go heal people?
Yeah. So magical.
And you have all these like little nuggets and like cool things to explore and climb on. Really magical. Again, the best experience of Topia, and you will like really understand what I'm saying when you experience it, is when you come here with a few friends and it's like a group of 5 or 6 of you and you just go explore or play hide and seek or like just try to go into a little adventure. It really feels super fun. There was this one time where I was playing hide and seek with some friends, because you can hide here behind things, and And so we started playing hide and seek, and all of us like hid, and then whoever was just taking it was finding us all one by one, and then we followed that person. And so we ended up like all finding each other and hanging out, and we were hanging out for like an hour. And like an hour later, a friend writes to me on WhatsApp, and he's like, "Are we still playing?" And we had completely forgotten about the poor guy, and he was still hiding an hour later. So he hit really well. We were very apologetic. He joined for the rest of the fun. So yeah, feel free to come here and explore by yourself. There is, as we said, 5 incredible worlds. Each one, just go with your mouse, because whenever you see the hand, it means that you can click, and it will either take you to a deck or a website for the experience, or something that will expand. Some of them are videos that will play when you get closer to them. So you can explore
called a movement in water. It will be a space to experience water, to raise our reverence for water, to experience its
Okay.
and to break
We're gonna go to Mora. Yay!
in the world, seeing ourselves.
Topia. Yes, it's so full. We should just do like a whole day of wandering in there. It's amazing. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna bring some people up here with me. We got Serena. We got Nico, you're in the whole time.
More abundant than we thought.
And
Around us everywhere. Water isn't only blue, it's also green.
who else? Paulo is here.
It's brown.
Oh, Amanda Sage is here. We can go see the train.
Fungi, mycelium.
Yes.
Water runs.
Whenever she comes back.
It's everywhere.
Myself. Melissa's still here. We can go see Melissa's art. Mark is here. We can go see Mark's art. Oh my gosh, we're on a mission. Okay, we're gonna go look at a bunch of art. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna go to Mora. I don't know if Nikki's still here. Nikki.
Yep.
You're here.
I'm here. I turned my video back on.
Okay, I gotta find you. Oh man, Nikki.
If you can.
How shall we start the story of building these crazy worlds?
Oh man. It was okay the first time. I think it was round 2 when we added that second room that got rough. It was crazy. It's too much and I had COVID, or it was like insane. So anyway, but I think it came out well.
Let's go in.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm plugged in, hard lined in.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! Yay! Here we are. Oh, you know what? Mark, I think is like right over here, huh? So when you come in, y'all. Actually, Nikki, while I walk over to Mark, do you want to tell people about what New Art City is?
Yeah. So I worked on this exhibition with New Art City people, which is this platform that was developed around the pandemic, built on a JavaScript language called 3JS that is for putting immersive 3D art exhibits online. And they've kept building and having a lot more shows with all kinds of people. And yeah, you can include images, videos, 3D objects. What else? You can have audio files, and I think that's it. But it's kind of just like you can build a whole world. Like, for example, in our theater in the Mission, we have a model. We got a model of the theater, and so we put our art shows like in the theater models, and then lay it out like the way we would if you were actually in the space. So for this, though, we built these exhibits in a way that was expanding past the idea of being in a building that exists, right? And even the physics of some of them are maybe impossible, like having floating clouds or whatever, or islands. So that was kind of cool to kind of, it's in a way like building it was a lot like building a video game. I've built one virtual reality game, and it was very similar to what I call like level design or layout, where you're really kind of creating the world where you'd be wandering around in. And that had to happen before we even placed the art. And then we had to help like folks, like I worked with Mark, for example, to make that dome. We helped with some other people to make the things that they wanted, or to help them visualize them, you know, in a 3D space. So it was something else. Yeah, or this one, for example, these are all little 3D models. There you can see like a desk and a phone and an air tank and like a computer and a mask. So yeah, it's just kind of like all different kinds of tools and options, and just putting them all together to make something that you would never have thought of.
One of the people who helped us build a lot, Serena, has a really beautiful piece over here. Oh, she also made this. She made us a little 3D design model. It's so cute. Are you still there, Serena?
Yeah, I'm back from my phone. Sorry, my connection was very bad today.
It's okay. I'm going to share for a second about your experience building in here and your piece.
Oh, yeah. Yes, like it's been like amazing because we were all designing all this project, and we were all kind of there were many people that were making things that needed an audience, needed some like people physically being there. And at some point we were connecting to the station, and we were like, what are we gonna do? Like, we cannot do it during COVID, it's gonna be difficult. Maybe ask some places that can like rehearse for it. And then we got this chance to make this in a 3D world, and everything changed. Like, we got to a world of incredible possibilities, and we were all kind of reaching out and talking like, you know, we could do this, maybe your ideas could convert into that. And so that's it. Like, my idea was a double spiral immersion experience, when you actually see some text said meanwhile you watch a video, and it's all inspired by the story of Micromegas by Voltaire. And I've been able to build something in 3D, and people can go in and experience it. And it's just amazing how an idea can just become very quickly an object, a physical object, even if it's like not physical for real, but in a 3D space that you can share, and you can have people getting feedback and like getting your idea real in a digital world.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you helped us build so much, so many long, tireless nights. Well, actually not tireless, but definitely long nights.
Yeah. There's so much work between all these things created, but it's all been done with so much like good energy and good collaboration. So it's all great.
We got Stroopy over here. Is Stroopy still on? Stroopy.
Yeah.
We're inside of your face.
Yeah, that's me. All right.
Care about what you're doing?
This is a video where I'm showing what I call the dance of the Tao, which Becky called the jitterbug transformation, which is a dynamic and actual model of the behavior of space-time. And I'm just going through some of the things that it can do when it's doing what it's doing. And yeah, it's sitting there for you to visit. My face looks funny in there.
And now we're at the train. Amanda, what is this magical thing?
Well, you know what? The creator is actually here with us on the train. And I figured maybe Jeffrey would like to share a little bit about the making of this. And I mean, it's the train, it's got one car. It's like the beginning, you know, with the first cohort of the Design Science Studio, you know, we're just getting started here. And the train is a metaphor and a meme that is here to connect all of us. You know, it's something that has, you know, been coming for a long time. I think we've been dreaming about it, singing about it, writing about it, coming to us in our dreams. And Jeffrey, what do you have to share? If you're here, are you here?
I just came back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right on. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've been continuing to work on this design over time, and I don't know if it's okay to announce yet, but got a continuation of this piece that's being brought into the physical, and that's all I'll say for now. But
here's a sneak peek.
there's a little yes. Sorry guys, I got a little off guard. I was just totally in another world and stepped back into this one. So what did I miss? What was being said?
Well, we're just checking it out here, and it's a beautiful collaboration that came into being, which the Vision Train is fully like something that has sprouted during this time of the pandemic, connecting artists and from all over the world. And Jeffrey, we've never met in person, but it's such an honor, and I can't wait to hug you.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll happen soon. We're in the same state now, so.
It'll happen soon. Thank you. Look forward to creating more with you. And I'm so glad that it's in regenERA, as a relic for many years to come.
Yeah.
It's actually a great example of like what can go wrong inside of building in 3D realms. Isn't this the one that was one of the ones that like when we tried to input it, it was just like a blob of brokenness at first?
Yeah, there were a couple of things along the way, but yeah, basically the version which was the most recent one was not showing up right. It wasn't for some reason uploading correctly. So
but it's cool. It's good to like learn about that stuff, It's like, okay, this is how it doesn't work. I learned a lot.
Exactly. Well, and it just to be able to have all this going on in a browser is amazing.
Totally. Speaking of browsing, shall we continue? Da, 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 da. This is really great.
Exploring the nature, our
the same community. You all should definitely check out. I actually sent a little video which we can watch. But first, we will continue. These were made by Nikki. Do you want to tell the story of all our bridges and structures?
Oh gosh. Oh, what is his name that made them? It's
Peter.
Wait, what was his name?
Peter.
Sorry. Yeah, so Peter, so he made these amazing structures and bridges, and that does not include the ground, which is like kind of a basic ass like island that I would not, whatever, is fine. We did not make that. But the structures, the challenge we faced was that they were so complicated in terms of what like in 3D design is called polys, so it's just like polygons, as well as what's called faces. So it's like the amount of faces and polys in a structure is really impacts the speed at which you can move through a space, because it will overwhelm your computer. And all of these spaces we've made are rendered on your machine. So if you at home have a slower or older computer, it will be harder for you to render those shapes and images. And so we had to do a lot of work to like what's called decimate the models, or make the models a bit more simplified so that they could fit into the space. And unlike playing like a video game at your house, if you have like an Xbox or something, yeah, look at this cool model. Those computers are just all dedicated to that game. But when you're on the web, you only have a small subset of your processor power that's going to enable you to view whatever is on the web. So making things for online is far more not complicated, but you just have to do a lot more to make the images small, which is why you get into something called low poly, which is like low polygon count, and it looks more like bubbly and cutesy. But the thing that I feel like was cool about the work that we just saw, the bridges we're looking at, and the structures, is that it doesn't look low poly. It looks high fidelity and well rendered. But in order to get it that way, it took a lot of work and painstaking, which I think if we look ahead 5 years or so onto the web, it won't be as bad because we'll have more powerful computers, right? So, but it was just like an interesting and long like challenge to make something high fidelity. Same thing with the vision train. Amanda, I went back and forth with the creator trying to get all the textures applied and everything so it looked right, you know?
Yeah, there was a time just like a couple of years ago where we couldn't even have this kind of quality on the web.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's recent. I mean, this is in all the shadows and lights and color and texture. It's like crazy that we can have it like that. Looks like wood grain, you know, like I don't even, yeah, it's just crazy. So, and the people who make the platform, this guy Don Hansen, was literally would write code for us so we could like have it look shiny, or we would tell him like, hey, make it so we can, you know, do this, and he would write it for us. So it was like a very collaborative process in the back end technically, as well as with the artists making the work. So yeah, I feel like we actually pushed some things forward possibly with this exhibit in terms of code and renderability in 3D. But yeah, that's I feel like we could enter this into a technical paper into SciGraph conference, the computer vision conference about what we did, you know.
Maybe we should.
I know, we should do it.
Yeah, so epic.
Or like this, see that map? I did a lot of work to get the map to overlay correctly onto the ground, for example, you know, just stuff like that. It takes so long, like, and a lot of in and out of different 3D softwares, and just, yeah, it was a really big learning curve for me anyway. And I code. Yeah, we all learned. We're like, oh, you can do this now. And then we messaged Don like, Don, help us. Why won't this work? He's like, I'll write the code. We're like, okay. So yeah, just it was
it's right.
We were dedicated though. I think I had some like almost sleepless nights. It was like fighting with those structures and all of it.
I remember during the opening, one of the creators, right? He was asleep. He fell asleep with his camera because you guys had been up for days and days.
Yes.
And days.
Yeah, exactly. And I kept sending him like, you got to make it smaller. Okay, send it back. You have to do, you know, like back and forth.
Right, he fell asleep.
He was just sleep on the keyboard.
He was like, I'm good. We're finishing this. I'm like.
Yeah, I didn't even work at my other job. I was like, yeah, I'm working. And I was just like, we're
partners anyway. Partners mean I get to have next week.
Yeah, it was like I was on vacation, just doing another job. No, but it turned out really well. It was just a lot. Yeah, and I think to do it again, I would probably break it out into like 4 rooms or something instead of 2. Like there's stuff I would do differently looking back, you know, to make it a little bit less intense on people's computers. Because you have to load every single file on your machine before the space loads. So if there's like 100 files, which there was almost 100 files, that's a lot to load on one web page.
And the other one was like 100 something. This is if anyone was thinking about going to Claudia's workshop. This is Claudia. She does a lot of systems mapping and wildfire survival stuff and creating solutions through system mapping. She's really cool. And then earlier, Rock. Oh wait, where is he at? This thing doesn't do it any justice. He's a genius. But there's a little space about one of his crystal cities. Tessellating buildings that tessellate forever. I think it's like one of the top solutions to homeless housing I've ever seen. Buddy, no one knows. Oh, I broke the internet. Where am I? I'm lost. Just kidding.
Hey, while you're wandering, Roxy, this is Mark. And I just want to say thanks again to Nikki. I get that opportunity to say thank you again for designing the dome that I had no idea that was going to exist when I first started. Yeah, that was so
Yeah, I was playing with shaders, like learning shaders, and then you're like, we're talking about your piece, and we talked about the dome, and then so I just made the dome. It's like, yeah, it was. But we had, I think we had a more fancy one at first, and then we had to simplify it, if I recall. Or you
we
wanted to
took all the
simplify it.
doors. We said, why do we need doors if we can just wander right in and out of it? So
Yeah, because didn't you move into a geodesic dome space?
right now, yes. At the
Yes.
same time that Design Science Studio first cohort was starting. So I got to experience moving into my dome here and into the Mora exhibit, where my ideas landed first in the dome. And that was thanks to you. So, but I have a question for Roxy and you guys. With the next cohort, are these spaces going to continue where you'll be adding to them, or there'll be new spaces, or how do you foresee this evolving?
I don't know. I mean, we definitely want to keep building in here. I'm not sure.
We cannot add any more to those spaces as they are. Like, if anything,
do we keep them as they are? Do we help them keep evolving? Do we just leave them and connect them to the new ones? I feel like that's probably the best.
I feel like they should stay, and then we should make new ones. That's what I think. But
I think so too. I agree.
Because it's nice to have a visual record.
They're all portals to one another too.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you build out a big map, and then it is like an MMO, massive multiplayer online game, where you have there's one called EVE Online that just has so many worlds people have built, and it can become like that, but for art. That's like what I would envision.
That sounds great. Like the idea that year over year with each cohort throughout the design science decade, that Mora would grow with these different tiers or spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And right. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense to me. And that's a crazy cave model. That was a lot of work too.
The sound's not working. I want it to work.
Oh, none of it is?
No, it wasn't working. Although I'm gonna have to go back on an adventure to find back to the cave, but Ada's here, so. Ada. I think.
Hello.
Hello, darling.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. It's lovely to be here with all of you again. It's been a while.
That's too long.
Hey, Amanda Sage.
Hey, Ada.
And everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a little more subdued today just because it's late and I'm tired. But hello, this is what you say. Hey, my darlings. How are you all?
We're good. There's a harsh reality that I realized a few minutes ago, which is I accidentally kicked Jurgis out. We have to go get him by restarting the Zoom.
I think I have a solution. Let me see if this works. Okay.
We're trying to hack the system. Oh no, Nikki. Is there sound now? Can you hear sound? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Holds her shapes together.
Oh yeah, I love that see-through bridge the best, by the way. Not that anyone asked, but
hey, Ada. We just do it now.
That's me.
The whole one?
Did you want me to intro this, Roxy?
The other way?
Sorry?
I said, should we just go into your experience now? Because we're
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to intro it?
Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Ada Paris. I am based in London. This project, its experience is called The Myth of the Ego. It started off as a journey, a realization that the link between colonialism, capitalism, and climate change is the ego. And I wanted to get people to recognize their own relationship with climate change and ego, and decided to create a shamanic experience through a hyper-realistic soundscape. So what you're going to hear is the trailer for the longer version, which will take you on a sounds journey into a cave to have a shamanic experience, and then you get breakthrough and you really start to understand your own personal relationship with climate change. So I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, and this also comes with the good news that Jurgis made it on the train.
Yay!
Yeah. So let me re-enter the cave.
So close your eyes and have a listen. I think this is a 4-minute version. So that is it. That's the 4-minute trailer. If you go click on the link and go to the website, there's a 25-minute trailer, 25-minute version, which takes you through a lot more. Thank you all.
This is wild because Jurgis, you're with the Kogi right now. No?
Yeah, I am, well, not with them, but I have been with them. I'm close to them. They're my neighbors up the mountain over there. Very close.
Oh, perfect timing. Right. Yeah, Nikki, this cave build was
Beautiful.
Thank you. It took a long time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
In different shapes.
I wouldn't know where to begin. I'm in
Yeah,
awe
I
of the
didn't
talent
either.
that does. I'm in awe of the talent that can do this.
Yeah, it was.
actually made and mostly Nikki made it better.
Yeah, we got a base model, but I did a lot of changes to it, added colors and modified it and stuff, and made it not too gigantic. Like that was always the problem, was just the file size. So I worked on that. Yeah, but I thought it was because remember the first one we didn't have a cave, we just had the picture, I think.
Yeah.
The fundamental principles by which nature.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope that you all come in and explore more of Mora. I think we made it to almost every island. I'm gonna like zoom to the other side so we can do a quick walk around. And then yeah, anyone else who's here who has art in here who wanted to share? Or we switch over. I see Chris, we went and saw your art. Stephanie. Amber Bassett, who's an Indigenous artist, has a piece over here. So.
Stitched from the body of time, unmoored into feral chasm, sacred terrains of knowing have begun to pollinate the baffled womb, whose authorship foments new fugues for ancestral tasks. It asks, who will dance upon your bones in the high, high grass? How will you inherit the smattering opal breath of infancy in the silt of forests yet to be born?
So beautiful. All right, y'all, come in, explore these thoroughly. They're so beautiful.
focus and concentrate when one's eyes aren't moving smoothly, tracking properly. Tracking became one of the sensory exercises that I did. And it was from that experience.
Right. Yay, we did it. We went and saw the art.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nikki.
Bye.
Burgess. Oh my gosh, I put you in a cell. I told everyone. Everyone was sad. They were trying to figure it out.
You kicked me out, Roxy. You kicked me out. It's okay. It's fine.
It was an accident.
It's fine. It's okay. It's fine.
How was
It's
it
all
up?
right. I'm not offended. I'm just a bit confused. Has my dear Ada done all she has to do concerning what she had to discuss, reveal, share with us and whatnot?
Yeah, she is. Went into the cave. Ada.
Hey, yeah,
Curious.
yes. Hello.
Hey, there is a conversation we have pending with this lovely woman.
The thing, and then we were going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. It's conversation.
Yeah,
We're going
Ada.
to talk about it now.
Okay, okay.
You ready? Can you?
I was just about to sign off. What's the conversation?
We have a lovely room called Re & Co on Clubhouse, but it's also a weekly radio broadcast, which is, it's Re & Co because we believe the future is both regenerative and co-created. And so basically what we do is we take a regenerative idea and then we do some co-creation and we jam and we look for poetry and we sometimes just say things which are so beautiful that it sounds like poetry, and then we weave all those ideas with words and music, and we put each other into an intoxicating state of synesthetic beauty. That's basically the
Sounds
idea.
beautiful.
But there is a theme I want to touch on because the Kogi Indians are there. They're very close. And the interesting thing about them is for the past thousands of years, or even within the indigenous tribes here, they've been very, very careful with their wisdom. They don't share it with anybody. They don't share it with everybody. And recently there's been a reversal of policy amongst them because we, the little brothers, are acting so foolishly. It's like we found the key to the gun cabinet at home, or we discovered where mommy hides the drugs and something. And all of a sudden they need to start talking to the little brother and say, hey, this is the issue we have. Curiously enough, they have a lot of wisdom, but they don't know how to share it with us. And after hundreds of years of repression, stigmatization, colonialism, exploitation, mass killings and things like that, it is very important to make amends and to find a position of trust through which they feel comfortable sharing the knowledge with them. And you as an expert in shamanism, I think would be great to have this conversation.
I'm very mindful not to say I'm an
techno
expert in
shaman.
those things, in those worlds. I have my own experiences, but I'm very mindful not to say I'm an expert.
Okay, I'll say you're an expert.
I was, I'm just trying to be mindful and respectful of people's traditions as well as my own. So, but yes, I hear you.
But that's a lovely conversation I'd love to have with you and with anybody else in this room if you are interested in ancient wisdom and how we can integrate it in a very respectful way as to avoid cultural appropriation and all kinds of misgivings.
Extraction.
I'm not sure if it's this coming Tuesday because they're difficult to fetch, these guys. They're very tough to fetch. But once I know,
well, let's have a conversation offline, and then we can get something in my diary. Yeah.
And I hope everybody, and everybody in the room is also invited because in Clubhouse it is interactive. So if you want to chime in and participate in that wanton act of regenerative ideas meeting co-creation, you are almost welcome to our Re & Co room every Tuesday. And so,
wonderful.
It's always lovely to see you, Ada.
And you. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. I miss you.
You and love you.
Lots of love. Good.
Jorgis, we're gonna I know, she's just the most lovely. She came to us in a late night. I'm from the other side of the world. Global hugs. All right.
Came in our dreams.
So we're going to rearrange the schedule a little bit, and we're going to introduce Eco Art Lab. I'm very excited. You want to, Faith? Yes. Faith is going to introduce Eco Art Lab. I'm so. All right.
I just got off a little workshop with Jeff Sue, so I'm excited to present Eco Art Lab and John Crawford, Ivan and Lisa. I don't see them here, but hopefully they're
here.
Oh, good. Okay. Great to see you all. So I'm going to give a quick bio on John, Ivan, and Lisa. John Crawford is an intermediate artist, performance director, and systems designer. He's engaged directly with the emerging technologies of our time. His work creates rich, immersive environments and compelling interactive experiences through embodied interaction. And it looks like you just got a haircut too. You look lovely. His current work includes Your Ocean, My Ocean, a collaborative transdisciplinary project that responds to the natural beauty of ocean ecosystems while calling out detrimental, human impact. I've been on a computer a lot today. He originated the active space concept for his intermedia software framework, upon which such projects are built, and he has continued to evolve and develop over 25 years. His research connects body-centered artistic practices with evolving methods of expanded media performance, multi-site interactivity, and responsive systems design. And Ivan, can we go down?
Yeah. Also, I can't find Lisa. Is she here?
I think so.
Lisa had to go to a meeting. Her schedule was a little tight and she couldn't stay, but she's with us in spirit and she may be able to connect from where she is.
Amazing. Well, we will still intro dear Ivan. Brilliant Ivan.
Ivan Williams he's currently working with John and Lisa, and is also a film, TV, and theater executive producer with a passion for arts, social impact, science, and technology. He's a media and entertainment entrepreneur, and he supports the deployment of state-of-the-art technology for streamlined and diversified development of the presentation of new shows and films. Before becoming a filmmaker, he had a 35-year career as a chemical engineer. That's quite the transition, Ivan. And as senior business leader with major energy related companies, including Arco, BP, and Worley Parsons. Anything else I should add, Ivan?
No, I think that's a full slate there.
Okay, well, welcome both of you. And if you want to say something about Lisa, just as a team member and your partner as well, I'll let you introduce her. So thank you both.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Faith and Roxy. Faith, I hadn't, except for yesterday, I hadn't seen you for a couple of months, and it just felt like such a hole in all of our hearts that all of a sudden we weren't there every week with Living Systems Celebratory and Design Science Studio. So it's so nice to be back and to see so many friends and new friends. Really great to see you all. Just a little technical note. Roxy, I'm having some internet problems right now, and so it's going to be difficult for me to show the images I wanted to show. I sent you a link to a Google Drive that has them all there. I assume that you're already totally on top of it.
On my email, I've been fully seen.
I sent you a link in the Zoom chat. Do you want me to send it to you some other way?
Excellent. No, this is perfect.
Let's see. Yes, perfect. I will be your...
And so in about 5 minutes, we would like to show those, and maybe you could just show roughly like one every 10 seconds or so as we narrate the piece.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. And, let me know if we need to change things or make it easier for you in some way. So
Does that sound all right? Great. Well, so nice to be here as part of this activity. And thank you, Ivan, for joining us as well. So we are going to talk to you today about a few different things. I'd like to begin by telling you the backstory of this project called Your Ocean, My Ocean, YOMO, which really emerged from a passionate need to engage with the feelings that many of us were having about the oceans and the coastlines and the human interaction with them. Arthur C. Clarke has this great quote, "How inappropriate to call this planet Earth when it is quite clearly ocean." And so as we know, the oceans cover the majority of the planet's surface. They're a primary line of defense against climate change and other potential difficulties. And you know, the oceans can feed us. The oceans have so much to offer from a physical and physical sustenance point of view, but they also provide emotional, spiritual, psychic sustenance. The trouble is that, as I'm sure that most people watching this are aware, the oceans really are in a potential catastrophe where we may end up losing so much of what the oceans can give us. And the primary threat to the oceans is human activity. Now, I don't say that to say that the natural environment and the human environment are somehow different or somehow one is better than the other. Really, these things exist in what we can call a dialectic, where these things work together. Our interactions with the ocean, our interactions with the ocean and coastline environment also can preserve and protect it. And so as an art maker, it really started to wear on me that we are not able to address some of these concerns in a way that I would like to. And that's where the genesis of Your Ocean, My Ocean came. And we developed it originally as essentially a dance and music concert that was presented in a live theater environment. Lisa Nuggle was one of 4 choreographers. I was the director. We actually presented it at University of California, Irvine, where I am a professor in the School of the Arts, as is Lisa Nuggle, the choreographer. We worked with about 70 students and faculty from all aspects of the arts at UCI and created this piece called YOMO, Your Ocean, My Ocean, which we then were privileged to be able to tour and presented it at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And both of these were wonderful dance and music concerts. They were built on a model of what we would call site-specific dance and music and visual art. And Roxy, if possible, this would be a great time for you to start showing the images. And what you're seeing now are some images of that performance. The piece existed in 4 segments, and each of the 4 segments dealt with some aspect of the things I just mentioned before, the interaction between humans and oceans. And the choreography was not so much about trying to develop a political or a particular point of view towards this dialectic I was mentioning. Really, the choreography, the dance performances, the visual art, music, all really existed as an emotional response to the beauty of the oceans and coastlines, but also to the feelings of panic and degradation that can come up when we see what's happening to the ocean environments. Caused primarily by the unintended consequences of human interventions. What do I mean when I say site-specific? Well, of course, every art piece happens in some kind of a site. Currently, we're on the site called the internet, as well as being in our own individual physical locations. But when we bring in material that has been created with a particular place, the aesthetic, the gestalt, the feeling, the spirit of that place in mind, then that starts to become site-specific. Site-specific work is work that really tries to connect with, make a connection between where the art is being experienced and where the art is being created. And Lisa Noggle is an expert on site-specific choreography. I myself have done a lot of work on site-specific visual art for all kinds of theater and dance and music environments. And my work creates an environmental context for this site-specific work to take place. Now, here in these images, you're seeing highly trained dancers who are really wonderful artists and have this amazing craft of dance performance. Lisa is also quite interested in working with people at all levels of dance training and experience. And what we're doing with the next phase of YOMO is we want to open it up to a broader range of possibilities. And we want to make it a site-specific experience that spans multiple sites. In the way I was mentioning a few minutes ago, that we can see the internet as being a site for performance, for engagement. And by internet, I don't just mean the web and Zoom. I mean, all of the things we can do when we develop software that has network capabilities as one of its primary substrates. So with the new version of YOMO, the one you're seeing here on these slides was done about a little over 2 years ago, but with the new version of YOMO, we are making something called YOMO Interactive, which will have an engaging game-like interface that allows interaction with the material that we're developing for this project. That's where EcoArt Lab comes in. So what you're seeing here was generated as a faculty project at UC Irvine. Ivan and I and Lisa have decided that we certainly appreciate the support and everything that UCI has been able to do for us. In addition, though, we want to really reach out to a broader context. As I mentioned, we're interested in working with people that have different levels of training and experience. And even though the academic environment that we live and thrive in is really supportive and great for many things, we're feeling that we would also like to be able to connect to a broader group, a broader population. And that's where the engagement with Design Science Studio came in. I was very fortunate to be able to co-teach a couple of classes at UCI with Roxy, who then introduced me to the work very early at that point and what was going on with Design Science Studio. And we together with Ivan and Lisa and some others came up with this concept of the Living Systems Celebratory, which was a parallel activity to Design Science Studio, in which artists would create and show their work related to the living systems concept. And for those of you who were part of that, that are hearing this now, thank you so much for all of your contributions in that regard. It's so inspirational. I learned so much from all of you. For those of you who haven't heard about it, I think you would probably be really interested to learn more. And I know there's information related to that collaboratory on the Design Science Studio site. So, and thanks, Roxy. We can now go back, and I'll try to share my screen if you would let me share now. And I'm going to share a page from a website that I would like you to be able to go back to see some of the work that we're doing here. This is the site here, Your Ocean, My Ocean, yomo.embodied.net. The links that we're going to give you will be posted in the chat as well. But to kind of move forward on this, I want to be able to show you the initial website for something that's in the early stages. We haven't formally announced it publicly yet, but we're announcing and discussing it here, and then there'll be a more formal launch going on over the next few weeks. EcoArt Lab is a new nonprofit that is focused on creating artistic performances and exhibitions, as it says here, that enhance ecological awareness, and really along the lines of everything we've been mentioning before. The new version of Yomo is being co-sponsored by EcoArt Lab along with my research group at UC Irvine. We'll be launching it in connection with the equinox on September 22nd. And Yomo Interactive will be an online project, fully online. An engaging game-like interface will enable viewers to essentially navigate, tell their own story through looking at and interacting with dance, theater, and music segments that respond to the Yomo theme. And we're so excited to be able to announce that we've engaged a number of wonderful artists as Yomo Fellows that will be working with us between now and September to launch this project. And we're, as I mentioned, still in the early stages. We've all been working together for about 3 weeks now. We're starting to see some amazing work come out of this group. Yomo Interactive will be a collective creation. And when we next present to you, I'm sure we'll be able to give you some amazing stories about how it all came together. At this point, though, I'd rather not say too much about where we hope it'll go, because we want to leave this wonderful kind of engagement activity that we have going on with the artists to kind of take its own path. And we still have a bit of time before September 22nd. So we're working in a kind of behind the scenes capacity to see how much we can get going with this. But we do see Yomo as being just the first in a series of projects that will be done on an ongoing basis by EcoArt Lab. And at this point, Ivan, I wonder if you'd be willing to share a little bit about some of the motivation behind why we created EcoArt Lab, how we see it being supported, and where we go from here.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that intro. I guess first and foremost, I come from a background of, as Faith mentioned, a background of film and television and theater. When I was introduced to John and Lisa around the Yomo project, I really kind of sparked my imagination of what we could do. And then certainly, as all of us have experienced over the last year and a half of COVID, the use of technologies such as Zoom have really kind of become first and foremost in many of our minds. For some people, too much. But for us, it allowed us to think in terms of how do we engage and reach people across the globe in an easier format. As John mentioned, we had the performance at UC Irvine and also at Brown University, but you think about it, there's only so many people who can be sitting in the stands and in the audience there. So using the platforms, the technologies we have, such as Zoom and other web-enabled technologies, we really felt that there's an opportunity for a diverse and inclusive audience across the globe. And not only audience, but the artists and designers that can come in and allow their creativity to come to the forefront in a very accessible platform. And as I think earlier in the day, we saw some of the technologies on display in New Art City. These are technologies that are allowing what I almost call the embracement of that diverse voice, the voices that sometimes couldn't get into that art space in downtown Los Angeles or in middle of Manhattan. So it motivated us to think of in terms of, we have this creative energy across the globe in all corners, from small countries, major metropolitan, rural areas of the world. How can those voices, those creatives, have an opportunity, an avenue to get their art seen and in front of the world? So this is the fundamental aspects of EcoArt Lab and what we're setting this up to be. And in essence, we did an open call to get the interest of a wide set of artists. And again, multiple continents, Europe, South America, North America, that come together and start presenting and creating their work. And at the same time, we respect the artists. We respect them, as John stated. We're not asking people to do stuff for free. We're asking people to give us an opportunity to give you a little bit of financial support because we respect you. So the tenets and values in which we imbue are important to us, and we want to represent them in a very respectful, inclusive, and diverse manner. So with that in mind, EcoArt Design really leveraged off the capability of the new technologies that Open Collective allows you to do. Open Collective is our fiscal host, is basically the platform, the technology platform that allow this new nonprofit called EcoArt Lab to basically spin up in literally less than 2 months. And that avoided years and very large costly aspects of employing lawyers to set up your own 501(c). This is the power of the technologies and the people around the world that are looking at the world in different ways, and how do they enable creatives and also nonprofits to spin up. So John and I took advantage of, with Lisa's support, and have now launched not two nonprofits. We have another one called Echo Art Design that we really won't talk about much here, but two nonprofits in a matter of 2 months, which, 10 years ago, that'd be basically impossible. So we are really at the forefront of using technology to allow diverse, inclusive voices and audiences to be included, and most importantly, to allow those voices to impact the environment and also social issues within our society, because we do really feel art is the glue to make our society a better place. So that's about it. And I thank the artist. I thank you for inviting us to this session, and we hope you come to our website. Remember, artlab.eco, artlab.eco is the website, and we encourage anyone and everyone to come and explore and engage with us in any manner you see fit. Thanks, John.
Thank you so much, Ivan. And even though Lisa is not able to join us, I just briefly did want to mention, as Faith said, that we can tell you a little bit about Lisa and her background. So she's a choreographer, but also a wonderful performer as an improviser. She's artistic director now of many different projects, interactive performance artist, and she's also a very prominent dance educator. She has been working with internet-based performance since 1997, and she coined the term distributed choreography as part of the work that she does in making this kind of innovative technology-based performance more easily understood in the dance education context. She has taught and performed all over North America, Europe, and Asia. She was a master teacher artist at Shanghai University. She was the chair of the dance department at UCI. So we're so thrilled to have her as one of the collaborators on Eco Art Lab, and also, as Ivan mentioned, on Eco Design Lab, which is the parallel activity to Eco Art Lab that is focused on designing and building open source software and hardware systems to enhance ecological awareness through artistic projects. So we're not building technology that's specifically about anything other than artistic creation. But this is a really nice parallel activity. The technology we're currently developing for Yomo will be open sourced and made available more generally publicly through Eco Design Lab. Again, these are all coming soon. We're in the very early stages, but we do certainly invite you to reach out and let us know if there's something you're doing that you think we should know about. Please let us know as well if there's any way that we can work together. We're going to be sending out various open calls, as Ivan mentioned, over the next months and hopefully years. And we want to build the network. We want to expand the circle. We want these pebbles in the pond to have increasingly larger reach and concentric circle development. I've posted the link to our contact page on the in the chat here, and it has all our social links, so that's the quickest way to get to us. But you also are welcome to send us a little message about how you're interested in working with us, and you can do that here. And many of you already have my email and other ways, so feel free to reach out to me in those routes as well. So thanks again to Design Science Studio for allowing us to be part of this wonderful, diverse, amazing activity. Congratulations again, Roxy and Faith and Nico and the entire team for everything you're doing. I also want to give a big shout out to Buckminster Fuller Institute for the visionary support, and that's really made all of this possible.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ivan. It's so wonderful to get to see the retrospective and understand, how that ties into the vision of what's moving forward. And I do want to just echo or it more fully describe kind of how integral both of your contributions and you for being the conduit, John, have been for the Design Science Studio and for creating the Living Systems Collaboratory. Like, I humbly will say that like I am devoted to resourcing artists in a very big way, and I have never been in charge of that before. And so, John was able to help build bridges for creating not only the pedagogical support, but also the funding support for this sub-program that we created together, and the mentorship, and like helping to really stay consistent in the rhythm and really mentor the group of artists who focused on the Living Systems projects over the last many months. And so it's just been such a delight and an honor. And I'm so excited to see where this is all going. I have a big art day tomorrow as a part of my YOMO fellowship. So it'll be a great decompression. So thank you for creating these opportunities for artists, for designers, and for future thinkers to be a contribution, and specifically really hyper-focusing on art making and how critical that piece is. And thanks for bringing your voices today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate being part of this event.
Yes.
It's a great honor. Thank you so much, Roxy.
Thank you.
All right. I want to invite everyone to stand up, maybe. Just like do a little wiggle kind of thing. I feel like we've been on the internet for a long time. I think that's true. Jurgis, are you still there? If not, I can pretend to be Jurgis. Maybe Stroopy, you want to play some flute with me for a second?
I'm afraid I don't want to wake up the neighbors.
Oh man. Okay. Well, at least just a little wiggle. Yeah. Epic. Ah, Tara's back. Yeah, I like the roll the shoulders back. I want to give everyone like a little bit of a view into the future, our not so distant future, which is literally just the next hour and however long you want to have a dance party after that. So the way that this is going to go is we're going to enjoy a really potent keynote that was pre-recorded for us from Samantha Sapaya, who lives in, why am I forgetting where she lives? She lives in Manila and is a revolutionary human who is dedicated to regeneration in the global south, and what we need to unlearn, and like the steps that we need to really take to get to these futures that we're bridging. And then we'll get to hear from Damien. Many of you all of you, I hope, entered today through Presence. And Presence is a platform created by one of the advisors, collaborators, and a dear friend, Damien Madre, who's launching a new program. And so we're going to get to hear about this new producers program. And then we're going to have this like kind of yummy integration space. Steph and Stroopy are going to share a little bit about some of what's been emerging for them. Mel, who's been, Captain No Account, and Tara and Jurgis and Stroopy, we're just going to kind of smoosh it all together and do a little bit of like reflecting and just seeing what comes up. And then Stephen's going to take it over, and he's going to help us integrate and, just have a kind of collective discussion, some sharing about how this was. And we'll have some closing statements. And then DJ Dakini is going to take us on a dance journey, which Legendary, after almost every single salon that we've done, has taken sometimes many hours. Hello. Hi, little one. Good to see you. So that's the flow. And I also, in case you all missed the invitation before, there is an event tomorrow to support our systems and any eco-anxiety that we're experiencing. Hi, little one. It is our dear friend Lydia, who is going to be facilitating a session. She's been working with Joanna Macy in the work that reconnects, and taking the feelings that we definitely feel and empowering those into embodied hope and the tools and keys for action moving forward, with all the it's a lot. It's a lot. Just looking down the eye of the tiger or whatever, being like, okay, this is what we're facing, but we're facing it together. I always have this vision of like buoyancy because of the net, like we're all connected, and so it becomes somewhat lighter because we're not doing it alone. We're building a lighthouse in a storm, and it is beautiful to be building with all of you. So with that, thank you, Strupi, for strumming along. I'm gonna let Vince turn on Sam's stream.
Cool, thanks. I'll get that on in just a moment.
I'd like to talk today about glitter on bullshit. I'm not interested in narratives or perspectives that seek to posit that humanity is one, or that kumbaya togetherness and altruistic love can be cultivated in mainstream human society today. I'm interested in the work that needs doing to be able to get to that point, which will not feasibly happen for another several generations. That work is about unlearning and undoing power structures that are global, that persist deep inside of us. It's not enough to know our privilege or our ignorance. We need to act like we know it. This is about how we view our identities individually and collectively, and therefore how we behave in private and in public. It's about real embodiment and real authenticity. Hegemony refers to a cultural domination that permeates our institutional systems, and therefore ourselves. Think of Disney, the UN, the WWF, the EU, the US political class, the Buckminster Fuller Institute. We really need to understand and get comfortable with colonial hegemony and ask deep questions about our roles in it. Now, who the fuck am I? My name is Samantha Supaya. I am a product of the British Empire in Southeast Asia. I was born into a westernized, colonized nation that celebrates to this day the arrival of the British. That would be the surprisingly oppressive city-state of Singapore, one of the world's most unequal and unsustainable places. I was born to a Chinese mother and an Indian father, housed and fed in a loveless, rootless, privileged, capitalist, westernized Asian society. I studied, worked, and lived in Scotland, England, and Sweden as a sustainability consultant in the world of building and urban design. I returned to Southeast Asia in early 2020 after 12 years away, seeking home somewhere on this deeply colonized, economically troubled, infinitely biodiverse, tropical subcontinent. You are listening to my truth speak. I speak nothing else. I make no land acknowledgements because I exist nowhere. I have no place to be. My allegiance is to the non-human entities of the global south, and my truth speak is already my acknowledgement in reverence to that which coloniality has destroyed and continues to destroy. The first truth I would like to speak of is that of separation. Modernity is a civilization of separation. I often speak of the various layers of lostness I exist within, as a millennial with zero assets in this era of late-stage capitalism, and as a human who chooses to remain alive, to witness the Capitolicene's global environmental collapse. We all need to get comfortable with being able to talk about and flow with these subjects because they are the symptoms of civilizational collapse we are currently experiencing, and indeed has been coming for a long fucking time, 10,000 years. I am constantly, desperately finding new reasons to postpone my own suicide. Ailton Krenak, a legendary Brazilian writer and activist in the world of regeneration, often speaks of postponing the end of the world by telling one more story. One more story that makes life worth living. Late last year, I initiated a project together with a few amazing women of different generations in Brazil, South Africa, India, and the Philippines. That project is called Possible Futures. It is a space for dialogue for the emergence of regenerative narratives for the Global South's complex, diverse contexts and cultures. We engage folk across the Global South to deliberate together narratives of regeneration for the Global South. This is the one story that makes my life worth living. The second truth I would like to speak of is cultural evolution and how we come to hold the worldviews we currently hold. When we talk about sustainability and regeneration, we must recognize how and when we became unsustainable, and how we come to hold the eco-fascist ideas on sustainable development, our so-called global institutions, and many of us individuals here in this room, insist on perpetuating today. It started with the Europeans decimating each other's indigeneity by destroying the feminine in their cultures. They then began to use seafaring and military technology, which they stole from other cultures, for the conquering of others. Raphael Lemkin was the Jewish-Polish lawyer who coined the word genocide in the early 1940s. He was the one who initiated the Genocide Convention. He said colonization was in itself intrinsically genocidal. He saw that the genocide of indigenous peoples was a two-stage process. 1, destroy indigenous ways of life, and 2, impose the colonizer's way of life. He also uses the term ethnocide to refer to this cultural genocide. This is why we have terms such as the Global South and the Global North. We are not the same. The Global South's shared history is one of genocide and slavery by the Global North. To explain what I mean by this, in the Americas, indigenous peoples north and south were displaced, died of disease, and were killed by Europeans through slavery, rape, and war. Over 200 years of European invasions, the population of indigenous Americans declined 90 to 95%. That is a genocide of 130 million people. Those 130 million people do not have descendants today. By sheer chance of germs and disease, the riches of the Americas funded European world domination. It allowed for the Industrial Revolution and for Europeans to continue that domination in Africa and in Asia, though both were, of course, a little more expensive. It also fueled what the Europeans call their Enlightenment, hailed according to Wikipedia as the foundation of modern Western political and intellectual culture. This is, of course, one arising from colonial hegemony. So, welcome to modernity. This is what we refer to in Possible Futures as the parasitic one world, a global hegemony that seeks to invalidate and exterminate other worlds. This one world is described in a research article by John Law in 2015 entitled "What's Wrong with a One World World?" Here is where I'll ask the studio team to paste in the references that I've pointed to and others that I will now explain. This one world was boosted by 2 world wars, giving birth to the Great Acceleration, the dramatic, continuous, and roughly simultaneous surge in growth rate across a large range of measures of human activity, often indicated as starting in the 1950s and growing strong today, thanks to influences such as the United Nations and the City of London. I hope when we are talking about sustainability, we are not talking about sustaining this parasite, one world. We are a social species on a social planet. Relationality is everything. Power, politics, and governance are embedded in the way ecosystems natural or human, evolve and grow. Intersectionality is about recognizing and acknowledging our unique, complex relationalities. Intersectionality is about recognizing the many worlds within us. The hegemonic power of Western civilization began and continues with militarized colonization. It established itself with an industrial capitalist global economy that intentionally rapes ecologies, cultures, and societies by design to transfer wealth from the global south to the global north. This is how anthropogenic climate change came about. The third truth I would like to speak of is ego death. Worlds of sustainable development and planetary regeneration today can be seen as a form of eco-fascist white supremacy. Who has power to decide what sustainability is, and who has power to decide what regeneration is? Whom does it benefit? If we want to talk about regenerating the planet we have destroyed, we must first admit that we lack the collective ability to even imagine our way out of modernity. If we want to do any sort of useful work in planetary regeneration, we must be actively discussing and embodying unlearning through decolonization. Our universe is one of fractals. What applies on a global level also applies on a regional level, particularly so thanks to colonial hegemony. And that, in my opinion, is the only real work worth doing. I don't see enough folk anywhere or in here doing that work. And indeed, perhaps, there are not enough people talking about what that work actually is. And so I have for you an analogy house for breaking colonial hegemony. You know we've been getting everything wrong lately. You know we're on an accelerated path to planetary destruction. You know it's happened on your watch. You're thinking about or initiating already new projects that seek to address all of these wrongs. But are you on the right track? What if you end up replicating everything that is wrong? Bayo Akomolafe regularly asks us, what if the way we respond to the crisis is the crisis? And the dreaded question, what if you become yet another colonizer? We are all on unstable, unsettled ground. There is no way around it. There is no stable, safe, well-marked, adequately well-lit site for miles around. And the storm is coming. Life on Earth is in a state of freefall, otherwise known as collapse. So let's take a look at those foundations. You will need solid stone pad foundations and a highly secure structure designed for omnidirectional strength, double or more the strength you think they might need to take. This is an analogy for unlearning. Everything you have ever been taught is from the one world, the source of colonial hegemony. Humility is not enough. Ego death is the constant work to maintain these strong, solid foundations to survive ever-shifting ground. Each pad is a representation of a different area of unlearning you must navigate. The specific areas are unique to you. These depend largely upon your upbringing, the environment your parents chose to bring you up in, your relationships with your parents throughout your life, the friends you've made throughout your life, and the realities you've come face to face with as a human being. Your unlearning once it's stable is constantly there because it is constantly nurtured. On top of this stability is the floor plate that must be able to cantilever off of the foundations of your unlearning when needed. Remember, we are on unstable ground. The cantilever represents how you show up when you come across folk who are not involved in any unlearning or even personal growth. You cannot show your foundations since they are embodied within you, but you can and must figure out how to listen internally and externally and to communicate your embodiment of your unlearning to those who do not see any purpose in questioning incumbent global power structures that, like it or not, you are replicating. This is part of your truth speak, your authentic voice in demonstrating your embodiment of your unlearning. It is subject to your personal experience of life on this planet and the spaces within which you exist. It is unique to you, and therefore only you can know what your truth speak is. It will not feel right until it does. And that is the bulk of the work, before we can even talk about the walls, which are the actions or projects you develop, the roof, which is a shield against bullshit, windows, which are the embodied epiphanies within the actions or projects you take, the doors, which speak to the interaction between inner and outer inquiry, and the other external and garden features that I don't have time to go into here. If this resonates with you, if you'd like to learn more and maybe even work through the Analogy House together with others, Possible Futures is currently developing a program to take folk through it at the depth and breadth that they are wanting to go. This is about creating the conditions for doing the work, layer by layer. For updates, subscribe to Possible Futures at possiblefutures.earth. Thank you very much, and take care.
Wow.
Analogy house or a house full of analogies? Amanda, what make you of that? I think it's clear that we are all imbued in colonialism. I think that it's clear that we all have to really make a big effort if we wish not to repeat the guise of our predecessors with a more lofty, exterior or a more lofty narrative. How do we do that? How do you combat that? How do you think that we actually, or how do you do that personally? How do you check in with yourself?
We must have a practice in which we are involved deeply in this deconstruction, right? And to admit that we all have so much to deconstruct, that we have been passed on to unknowingly from so many, they were doing what they thought was right? Our predecessors, our parents, our teachers, to have compassion for that, as well as holding, how she spoke, just the quality of her tonality and her voice, is this truth speak. You can tell that she has found it, right? And she's speaking from such a place of knowing, of having done so much deconstruction, and how she spoke of being so, the thing that keeps her going is this Possible Futures project, of having, once you go so deep into learning so much about the colonial, like how deep it has, how deep we are all products of this, how terrible it is. You can really get fall into a lot of depression. And so to have a project, to have some place to go, to have others to connect with, to talk about possible futures and to do this work together. This is something that we do on the train a lot. We get together and we weave through our hands and through our words, and we listen. We do a lot of listening together, listening to each other share, and we need more of this. We have a lot of work to do.
I agree. We have a lot of work to do. And when you look at a lot of social media where it's people broadcasting their truths onto others, there's not enough dialogue. There's not enough listening. People actually trying to find a shared truth, a shared vision that, especially now when we have so many contradicting truths, right? Find truths that are expansive and that involve more of those perspectives to enable trust. Actually, I'm very happy that our next guest is one who is working on precisely those kinds of social media platforms and working on ways for people to collaborate and to build trust. and that person is Damien Madre. Damien, are you with us?
I'm here.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. Hey, what's
Amanda, can we get a
Yeah.
It's great.
Damien, we are so grateful to you for everything that you have brought to us to help bring us together, to empower these, these projects, these gatherings, these places of these watering holes, that's really what it is. And thank you for presence. Thank you for, everything for your presence and for the presence that you're bringing this international community, intergalactic community. And, Damien is a design thinker and experiential creative, supporting the integrity and development of the experience economy. He built Presence, a marketing and operational tool that helps creators bring people into experiences that facilitate connection. His work at the Glint has been featured in the New York Times, Bold Italics, Huffington Post, Slate, the Wall Street Journal, and Financial Times. He has also led experience design for EQ's Planet Home, an environmental solutions summit bringing together 10,000 attendees alongside thought leaders and artists from around the world to sustainably solve global challenges. He started EXPDSN to continue the discussion on the role of experiential design as a tool to expand human consciousness. And I've heard you have something very fresh on the oven, out of the oven. I'm not quite sure where it is in its baking, but we're excited to hear about it.
Amazing. Yeah, it's fresh. It's coming out.
He's also a great guy too.
He does a lot of cool things, and he's a great guy. Must be.
Thank you so much. I am. To answer, it's now coming out. It's out in the world, but it hasn't been announced or launched in an official capacity. So this is the first place I'm actually presenting or speaking about it. And it's really part of Presence. But for everyone wondering or who doesn't know about Presence, I'll give some context. I believe that experiential design is the tool of tools, and it's really great at shifting behaviors. And as a result of that, I've been designing experiences for the last 8 years. And I've seen the effect, or I've seen the impact on engineering spaces to shift people's ways of relating to themselves and each other. And so I wanted to figure out how to scale it, because when you think about the internet, the one thing that the internet is really good at, exceptional at actually, is scaling things. So what I've been exploring for the last 2-3 years is how might the internet be used to scale human connection? And so that's what Presence is about. And so many of you have probably seen or engaged with it. It's been used a lot for Design Science Studio and a few other collectives and communities. And so what we're working on and what we're launching is called Presence Promoter. And Promoter is really cool because what it focuses on is two things. It focuses on finding, curating, developing the kinds of experiences that will cultivate or engineer connection in meaningful and authentic ways. It's focused on those experiences and putting them out into the world. So there's a lot of these experiences that already exist, but what happens is that they're typically within our ecosystem. So friends of friends of friends, communities of communities of communities. And my intention is really to get it beyond that, because where we're at right now when it comes to solving a lot of the problems that we're talking about and looking at, previous speaker really dove into the gravity of these problems. for us to resolve these, we need to be in connection. And what that means is that we need to be in better relation to ourselves, each other, and nature. And so what Presence is doing with the promoter program is finding, curating, and developing the kinds of experiences that brings people into connection to self, each other, and nature. And then what we do is we put all of those onto the platform, and we're going to do the things that that sells everything else. We're going to market it. We're going to essentially take marketing dollars. We're going to take a budget, and we're going to use the mechanisms that are already out there that is typically used to sell, well, everything else. We're going to use that to promote the experiences that people need. And we're going to do it in a way that reaches the mainstream media, and we're going to speak about it in a way that the mainstream audience can relate to it and can connect to it. So one of the reasons that I'm here and why Roxy invited me is I wanted to reach out to the design science community and ask for anyone who's an experienced designer or creator, if you are building, if you're creating, or if you're ideating experiences that is focused on human connection, whether it be to self, whether it be to each other, or whether it be to nature, I'm very interested in talking to you so we can look at including your experiences in the promoter program, of which we will help you. We'll help you with a few things. We'll help you with the design and the branding of it. We'll help you with the storytelling, and we'll provide the tools so you can present it to the world. And then, of course, we will market it to a larger audience. So that's what I'm working on as part of. It's a continuance of Presence, and so that's what we're launching in the next month. And when we launch, we want to launch with the best experiences in the world. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking to this community. And yeah, I will pause for questions if there's any. And if there's not, what I will do is, if you're wondering, okay, how do you get a hold of, or how do you learn more about this? Then you go to withpresence.com. I'm gonna post that here in the chat right now. So you can go there, and I'm also gonna screen share for a second, so I can just walk everyone through this. I can screen share, yeah. So you're gonna land here, and there's a really super large purple button that says request invite. So if you have an idea for an experience that you're working on, you can click this button that says request invite, and it will take you through a form that will ask you a series of questions that allows us to curate your experience. It also helps you think about your experience. So what we do, going back to the marketing, is we have a newsletter we're building out, and we have a newsletter of 20,000 subscribers. We're going to do ad campaigns that reach 1 million ad impressions per month. Think of that being about 250,000 people. And then we have our social media presence that we're going to be sharing your experiences towards. And then finally, we provide you the tools to operate your experience. So a lot of that is the ticketing, the landing page. We have office hours to help to advise and mentor, branding, CRM, and messaging. Much of this is what we've been piloting with Design Science Studio. And the model around this here is what we do is we provide all of that, and we do 20% of ticket sales. So it's a rev share model. If you sell tickets, 20%. If you don't sell tickets, then there's no cost. So it's a very low risk proposition. So yeah, you can come to the website, you can learn more. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, Damien at withpresence.co.
Damien, I have a question.
Yeah.
Question.
I have a question. I have a question. What if you are a talented creator, such as myself, or Strupi, or Mel, or Steph, which haven't, gotten the whole experience together? Is there an opportunity? Is there a way for us to collaborate with others, say to be a cog in a bigger machine, to be a member of a bigger crew, experienced designing tribe? Is that possible? Do you facilitate that?
Yeah, we actually facilitated the creation of a collective called the Sensual Collective. It's a women's only collective focusing on connecting or creating spaces for women to connect with their sensuality. So it's a women empowerment group. So, and what I did there is I brought 3-4 women together, and then I took them through a process that formulated their collective. And now they're, just to show you a little bit of that, they're actually launching. I'm going to share my screen again. So they have actually, this is their channel on Presence, and this weekend is their launch week. So you can see all of their experiences here. And so over the weekend, they've had like 40 creators, 40 facilitators, coaches, submitted their workshops, their talks, their experiences. And we've launched it, and we've got about 200 people that have showed up. And so this is exactly what you're talking about, Jurgis.
Lovely, because here at the DSS we have a lot of cross-pollination, and clearly we have a lot of creators which are starting to discover how lovely it is not only to flirt with one another, but to take those relationships somewhere more serious. 2 good very examples of that, or maybe even 3, is the relationship between Steph and Strupi, which I would like to invite on stage right now. I'm not sure, is Mel supposed to be joining us as well?
That's a little after.
Damien, before we see you go, can we give him a big round of applause can we just give Damien a big...
We love you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. And yes, please reach out. I'm happy to support creators and experience design in all the ways. So I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. You're the best. We love you.
Bye, Damien.
Bye.
And we're inviting Strupi and Steph on stage. Is that right?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yes? Yes.
Are.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Ready. Rumble.
We must summon Strupi.
Yeah.
Summon Strupi.
Yeah.
Wake me up again. It's almost 2 in the morning.
Okay. Now you got it. Great. Yeah. Well, thank you. So yeah, Strupi and I basically, I'm going to just share my screen for a second right here. And can you see this? What are we looking at?
Yes.
Can't tell. You do, you see it. Okay. So this one photograph, because what I have found is that this photograph to me is the space between 2 soap bubbles. And so I spent a long time trying to explain this, but it's seriously it's the first petal in the flower of life. And within that, like it's sort of like, that's where we start to get tetra. And so like, I'm not going to start talking about the stuff that Strupi talks about yet, because I'm learning it from him. But basically what we are both coming from is just a very different experience for a lot of different reasons. But studying nature, like I study nature. I'm kind of going backwards, and it's just through experience, experiment, observation that I'm seeing these things, and just looking around going, does anybody get this? Like this, basically, it's a field. It's the colorful field between a relationship between any 2 things. So between 2 people creating a whole other field, a whole other world, and it's colorful. And so like, what we've come to is that, like I'll be honest, like I failed geometry, I failed math, I didn't know these things, but I am like a student of nature. And so learning from Strupi, I really understood the geometries of nature. So we basically are coming together to create what we're calling fuller feedback systems, because what I noticed is that most of the information of Buckminster Fuller, and also just the Fuller feedback system, in living systems, we talked about living systems and things, but I sort of did my own neural feedback that fixed stereo vision for me. So I guess you call that neural hacking, but I call it growing bridges. And so what you're looking at here in this Fuller feedback right here, this is the mother of all this, like that one petal is what you saw between those two soap bubbles right here, like one of these little spaces. So basically, I'm gonna give it over to Strupi to continue on, but we're gonna bring in this feedback so that we can share the information in different ways and open it to invite people to, like, we can do, we're gonna do some like reading out loud story and like and having people come together to learn it in different kind of ways. But I'm giving it to you, Strupi.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for this whole experience. I mean, it's kind of incredible to think that after that year of intense design science studio stuff, there was that sudden drop of all. We've done regenERA and it's out there and now it's over, and everyone was falling somewhere back into their place or whatever. And for Stephanie and I, it was a falling together into this, because we've been part of the same pot. So our cohort of a grow 144 people was organized in pots of dozens, and our pot was number 12, the powers of 12, with Ada, who was also here, and a few more people, wonderful people. And it was within that small group that I also met Stephanie, and within that big family of the DSS, this is my core family, so to speak, and the two of us we've recognized each other right away as being spherical minded. So we're not talking about linear or non-linear, but we're talking about spherical, because non-linear is spherical, and even linear is spherical. It's just an abstraction away from it. And we are offering an integration of senses and of reasoning and of understanding of what it is to have structure, what it is to have systems, because these words mean so much and they are in everybody's mouth, and nobody really seems to know what they mean. And there is a lot of blind spots, just arcing back to what we've just heard about the colonial past and present. And there's lots of these blind spots, and one of the biggest of them all is that we all tend to believe the old fairy tale of 3D space. We've heard the word 3D, I don't know how many times throughout this presentation alone, which is a testament to the fact that it is common sense to believe in something which is utterly abstract. And that is the true legacy of Buckminster Fuller, is to give us this insight that, well, this is supposedly the cube. If I take out the part that is alien to us, the diagonals of it, this cube transforms, and there's no need to reform the cube because it is a transform in nature, and it is us. It gives us the option and the possibility to leave this nonsense behind and really engage in the incredible realm of triangulation that is just there outside of the frame we're used to. And this is leading to so many things, and I'm not going to go into any depth of that now. Please, if you feel interested, check out our website here, where you can get in contact and get into the loop. So we will try to get more of this stuff going and share these things with you. So this is just the last thing I show, because this is kind of the same thing as the photo of Stephanie's bubbles with the interface, because this is two big chunks of space-time coming together, and they share a common heart. They share an 8-eye in the center, and this is what we can engage in. This is what we can play with, and this will transform the world. It will bring us into a reality which is completely unrecognizable from the vantage point of our modernity and our civilization and all its past, because it's been neglected, it's been obscured, it's been rendered irrational and nonsense by a system which in itself is nonsense. And we don't need it anymore. It's past overdue. We can strip it off and go beyond that and go back into our spherical identity with this wonderful place on Earth. So I know it's late. It's probably later here than it is over there. And I'm very grateful for your attention and all of your love, all of you people. And yes, I'm grateful that we have this common ground to stand and build upon. And being aware that the ground is constantly shifting, let us reconsider how we can build and structure and think and act and be in integrity with the universe that we are.
Stroopy, you know, your camera was frozen like this for half of your talk. Did that happen to anybody else?
Yeah.
You were like this.
The internet is getting tired.
It was like a messianic image of you, perfectly poised underneath the lovely yin yang and the two triangles. I thought I would make a t-shirt out of you looking like that. Maybe one of the graphic designers or one of the beautiful, beautiful fashion designers in the group will get an idea. Because, dude, I would wear a t-shirt with you. I mean, if you're inspiring on my screen, imagine how inspiring you would be on my chest. Wow.
Yeah. Why not get a tattoo right away? You've got it already. You've got the circle there.
I think that's advanced school of Stroopy. That happens after 2 years. Speaking of which, we have another human being on the screen right now who I would gladly put on my chest. If anybody made t-shirts of Mr. Melandringa, I would buy 3 or 4.
Sure.
How many would you buy, Roxy?
400.
Hello.
You know what I would do?
I'd buy. Also, Mel is our spirit animal. Mel is the design science studio spirit animal.
I just want to dance. I just want to dance to yours' smooth music. I just want to get into it. I just want to get into it with you people. You're the reason I'm here.
Well, I'm here to make you dance, Mr. Andringa. Yeah. I would like to get myself 15 t-shirts with your lovely soul posted on them. I would give them to everybody on Christmas. It would make my family a little bit more positive. Yeah, let's have you dancing. Yeah, you are increasing the energy of this room. You know that you could dispel any sadness, any gloom. Mr. Mel, Mr. Andringa, dancing Mel. Mr. Andringa, dancing Mel. Mr. Andringa, dancing Mel. Mr. Andringa, break it down, break it down. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get the virtual dance circle going? Can I see some hands in the air? Can I see some fists bumping up in the air? Can we see some inspiration for Mel as he gets it down? Yeah. Mr. Andringa, yeah. Dancing Mel, Mr. Andringa. He put you under his spell. Dancing Andringa, yeah. Mr. Mel, he's got the moves, he's got the moves, he's got the shape. Yappo piggity up up. That's so lovely. Mel, I'm gonna give you a kiss. Come a bit closer. I'm gonna give you a kiss. Come. Mwah.
Was that a your kiss?
It's a jerk kiss.
Give me your
Because
kiss.
your kiss is what I miss. Because your kiss is on my list. Because your kiss is all I miss. Oh yeah, that's an idea for a cover. It's amazing that after so many months already, after the end of our cohort, we still have very nice chemistry. And Stefan finally made it to the room. I was waiting. You know, Stefan, you're the only person who can imitate me correctly.
Me?
Yeah. You do the thing on the piano where I...
Sort of.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. That's the power of co-creation. That's the thing, is we have this very beautiful quantum network of human beings, and all of a sudden we see that vocabulary rubs off, dreams rub off, visions rub off, aesthetic insight and all kinds of knowledge rubs off. Little by little, we have become assimilated. We're becoming part of this DSS Borg. And it's nice. I like it. I love it. I love it. And so I feel that anything that Stephen says has my seal of approval. And so right now I would like to give him the stage, because I know that he's going to whisk us away with something special. The knowledge of walruses. Special, awesome. The special message from marine mammals.
We are nature. So, yeah, how to bring this all to a close? All these ideas. I think what we're experiencing is a shift in the way we think about stories. And there's someone that you might know, Lord of the Rings, Narnia. These authors, they got together and collaborated and came up with imagined worlds. So Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, they talked about this idea of mythopoeia. And what I'd like to welcome everyone into is kind of, for those who want to be part of the Design Science Studio, this is kind of what we play with, is storytelling for immersive experiences. And we're inviting you into these shared experiences. So this is how we grow and change and converse with each other. But even for those who might not have the opportunity to be part of the Design Science Studio, it doesn't mean you're excluded from participation in this movement that's going on around the world. So I had earlier in this interaction, I had raised a question, and maybe I can raise that again. It was basically about, how can we create what if there are people who would like to create their own cohort for their community to follow along with the co-creative regenerative movement? do we have, as a design science studio, a replicable model for what what we are sharing with the world, so everyone can follow along with us and scale what we're doing globally? So I've created this article called Mythopoeia, and why don't I read it to you and see if it resonates with everyone. And so this will be the first time I've read this. Welcome to Mythopoeia. You have entered a virtual reality where sentient life is being born in random locations on a planet with everything needed for the flourishing of organic life. Each life inherits a past, lives in the present flow of experience, writing the future into being as they find their way in the world. The world finds itself in an existential crisis, and there's less than a decade to figure out how to avoid the ecological collapse of the planet and the destruction of the species from social, economic, and political crises driven by the ecological disaster that has been caused by thoughtless social, economic, political, and technological experiments that have inadvertently caused the destabilization of the fragile equilibrium of the planet's living systems. How will they redesign the world they have inherited so that it works for all of the living beings who share the planet? A builder's collective. The sentient beings devise a plan to gather a group of writers, artists, designers, scientists, engineers, architects, and educators to reimagine the social architecture they have inherited. They realize that they have made some faulty assumptions about their world that seems to be driving the world into chaos faster than they are able to respond to the changes in themselves and their environment. A force known as entropy seems to be tearing the world apart around them, driving a process of separation, death, decay, and disintegration. However, they've been learning more about their world through the technologies that they have invented. These new inventions have extended their senses and cognitive abilities to detect another force in the universe that is the catalyst for creativity and innovation. This mysterious force is adding greater levels of adaptability to environmental changes, learning, integration, and collaboration that has brought about the complexity and diversity of all matter and life in the universe. This force appears to be in effect at every scale of the system, from the cosmological to the chemical, biological, and even the social systems of their diverse cultures. These beings have a sophisticated capability to recognize patterns, which has helped them to create symbol systems, languages, and stories, which have become a powerful means of coordinating their actions as individuals. They have created global social systems that, while providing amazing new capabilities, are also depleting the finite resources of the planet. As resources run out, many of their species and many other species are dying, even to the point of extinction. As they've been trying to discover ways to deal with their problems as a species, they began asking themselves questions. What if we could imagine a future together through collaborative storytelling? What if we could go beyond imagination to engage in the process of design, to prototype and build the world that we had imagined? Could we really change the world? So they put together a team of individuals who could collectively imagine the possibilities of building the kind of world where they could all live together in peace. They made a simple declaration. We are exploring how we imagine, design, and build the future together. Then they got to work, learning how to focus their time, energy, and resources to build a world that works for all of life. And so that's what I'm calling the Builders Collective. It's this global art project. Everybody's invited. It's cross-generational, cross-disciplinary, cross-cultural, crossing all the divides to figure out, can we figure out how to work together? And that's what I'd like to invite you all into exploring with us together. So in conversation, in art, in however you like to express these ideas, I think we can, cross species, as Mel is saying. I think I was implying that by cross-cultural. little cultures of different kinds of beings. But yes, thank you. So yeah, I'd love to invite anybody into sharing how they kind of see how we can express this idea of mythopoeia into the world, creating stories that create realities, because I feel like that's the shift that we're engaging in now, that we're realizing we put things out into the world and then they actually become our reality. So rather than being in this feedback loop where we're being fed the stories and then we reflect those back, what if we became the creators of those stories and have that permission to design, because we're all designers. If, as Roman Mars says, design is everything a human touches. So that gives us all permission to play. So yeah, unmute yourself if you have any thoughts or ideas.
Does the question feel, I was trying to write it down, how might we co-create stories that create new realities?
I think that's a really good summary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you're feeling shy about raising your voice, we could also do a little bit of this thing. Is it working? Can you see it? Oh, can you see it? Was that working, Stephen? Could you see?
Yeah. I see it.
It was working? Okay, well, let me see. Let me put the link in. But anyways, maybe Stephanie, do you want to share? How might we co-create stories that create new realities?
Try and hear me in the back there. Okay, so what I was going to say was how we can create stories, new stories, is also to look at the cosmic picture again. And the thing with the cosmic picture is that it's also just been taken apart, right? All is one, one is all, has been used against people as well for like military purposes and different purposes. But like when we come back to that story, which is that we're actually cosmic, we're like, if you took the whole cosmos and you put it right here, right, and then right, that's us. So like, how are we different? How are we not that, right? So it's sort of like, if we reframe, and I've said this in diversity conversations before with lots of different people in the space, but it's like Guru talks about how, you know, when he has schools in India, kids don't start school until they realize that any other model is too small and leads to corruption. Anything other than the view that we're part of everything and we're nature also. Because when we think anything different, we just create that, and we'll keep creating that. So that's why I keep landing back with Stroopy, because he's talking and showing a new structure and a new way to build and a new model to build by. And when we start there at the base, then we could actually grow, and anything else is going to keep falling apart in the old system. So I keep coming back to that, because that's what feels like we'll grow, because we'll get the things absorbed that didn't get absorbed into the stream, because people, you know, Buckminster Fuller and different people, they had such incredible wisdom, and some got through and people created from there, but a lot didn't. So we're making the bridge again with the information and coming in ways where we can be, there's gurus teaching, if you hold out your eyes, you can have space. So we can go on with that, but just letting you know that that's part of the fuller feedback, because we're going to share coming from a fuller sense of feedback and absorbing together, learning more about this stuff, so we can put it in the base of the soil of the studio and new thinking and construction, design, education, all of it, so that we can really build from a new model. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just that completely different perspective on the way we see the world changes the way we interact. And I feel like the way I've been responding to the world is the way I've been trained to as an audience for someone else's talk or performance or whatever. We've been trained with media to be a passive receiver of information. But I think what I'm trying to shift, I think, is helping us to realize that, like what Buckminster Fuller was realizing, because he had a different way of seeing the world, it also shifted the way he interacted, where, okay, if I can be a trim tab, that means I have agency as an individual to have the greatest impact possible just by being who I was called into the universe to be. I don't know if that makes sense.
Tara.
I just jumped back into the salon in this magnificent moment of conversation. And Stephen, I'm always such a big fan of how you hypothesize, but also how you share knowledge so generously, and Stephanie as well. And this is such a deep question. And it makes me think of the Design Science Studio, hence I raised my hand. I know we've had conversations about this, Stephen, you and I before, and Stephanie, you and I as well. And I thought rather than hypothesize, I would give an example. Co-creating stories that create new realities. I can't help but think that that's happening right now at this salon in the design science community. And having shifted around a few networks and having been part of a lot of collaborations and co-creations by default, which is the work that we do, the only thing that comes to my mind is by creating new realities of care. No amount of co-collaboration or co-creation can happen or create any new reality unless there is an intrinsic shift of intention. That is what's going to transform our perspectives, the way we'll communicate and interact with each other, and start to create ripple effects. But no matter how much we want to create new realities, till we show up from a place of mutual care, trust, offer integrity, we are not going to be able to put ourselves in a position where we can show up with trust or to receive trust. And those old paradigms will keep kicking in. And when I think of what's happening over here, I look at the way Roxy and I engage every single week. There's such a deep bond of love and care and trust that when I'm thinking of a project, I'm immediately going to think of like, oh, I need my person, and I'm going to reach out to her, or the way I reach out to you, Stephen. And that's what it comes down to for me. This co-creation, we have to flip this current paradigm of competitiveness into cooperation, yes, but it has to begin with care and in commitment of integrity. That's what came to mind.
Beautiful. And yeah, there is this kind of the reciprocity that I'm hearing from books like Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, where it's learning what we didn't learn 500 plus years ago about what could we have learned in the process of relating to a different culture, to a different way of being in the world. And just being able to, instead of rushing into doing something, actually just waiting and listening and being able to decenter ourselves and let someone else share what is their experience, what is their language, how can can we learn from a different way of thinking about vocabulary and rather than imposing, well, I don't know how to speak that, so I'm just going to make you speak my language, and then it just snowballs from there. Instead, actually asking the question, going into curiosity. So I have no idea what I'm doing here on this land. Can you show me how this actually works? Because I have no idea. And that I'm thinking about Richard Saul Wurman, who's like he founded TED, but he started by writing all these books, 90 books, because he decided, I don't know anything. I have to come into every room, every space as the dumbest person in the room and just be in that place of curiosity.
But again, I mean, like, this is again why I so adore our conversations when we find them, Stephen. And this is something I want to, because every time you show up, you always show up saying, what can I do? How can I help? And this to me goes such a long way because it's such a radical act of kindness and care. But it also comes with saying, how can I just be there for you? And again, I'm thinking Roxy right now, I'm going, humility and wonder as she works. And she sends me these words. Yes, there is a certain sense of examples given in history. For example, if we go back to the ancient civilizations of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, it's the way the architecture is structured. It's the way the entire food structure was assembled, the grain structure. You had to be collaborating and cooperating just in order to survive. Like Louis Costello says, we are survival of the nurtured, not survival of the fittest. And again, to me right now, everything that we've heard today, whether it's been what we were showing with Recreators as a plan, or the frameworks, or all of our works, catching what Becca was talking about. I mean, just look at what's happening at the studio itself. To me, one of the most radical acts of this studio is that, as opposed to a lot of other networks, which always function in places of deep hierarchy. Think back to 2020 when we all came together and there was this community building where everybody got to say who they were and the work they were doing, but no titles were important. I remember speaking to somebody and being completely dazzled and realizing they were 19 or 25. And to me, that's what it came down to. This is the paradigm shift. Yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for this space to communicate. And I'm actually curious because, Roxy, you and I were talking last night about the concept of seva again and service, but that comes with trust building. And I wanted to sort of hand that back to you and say, like, how has this period been for you? Because you've just been giving to all of us, you, Nico, Jurgis tonight, everybody. Like, how has this been for you? And how has that co-creation felt for you?
I feel resourced in a way beyond money. I just, that like giving and like deeply committing to something that you can't fully see, but is the way. I have experienced knowing that when we are more resourced financially, it'll be great. But generally, like I feel deeply resourced. Like, like my well is overflowing because it's such a beautiful gift to be in this listening, in this receptive space of saying, this is my commitment. I don't fully know how to get there. I have a lot of good experience to bring to the table, and I don't want to do it alone. Is this something that we all resonate with? Yes? What can we create together? And this is what we create together. So much so that Jurgis's internet went off of the palm tree, and he came back to us on his telephone. This is a moment. Oh, Jurgis, did you want to say something?
They took the internet down from the palm tree, so my laptop wouldn't work anymore. But I thought I'd have to return to this call because I'd like to give more to this group, to these lovely humans. I believe the conversation we should continue next week in my re-inco room. It's on every week on Tuesdays, 10 PST, 9 PST. What do you say, Stefan? What do you say, Tara? You want to move this conversation into the re-inco radio show room this
Yeah, that sounds
Tuesday?
great.
How you feeling
Yes.
it? How you feeling it? Because I have
Always.
ideas. I have contributions, much beautiful contributions, which have to do with the power of trusting oneself in a group of people when it comes to co-creation, where, you know, trusting what has to emerge from the inner space is as important as being beautifully attuned with the outer space. And that deserves and demands dissolving of ego on a completely different level. So what say you? Should we continue this in the re-inco room this coming Tuesday? Yeah. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds lovely, and I am excited. And Lovely's Roxy said that I should introduce the next part of the show in the form of Becca.
But yes, and we must say thank you.
Yes, we must say thank you. Thank you. Thank you, you. Everybody, I want to see fingers. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we need to point. Thank you. Thank you, you. Nobody's getting rich from this. Thank you. But our hearts are becoming enriched. Thank you, you.
Thank you to the team. Thank you, Brittany and Brittany. We have two Brittany's. Brittany Creedon, who helped production coordinate like a badass. Brittany Ferrero, who made all of the beautiful graphic social posts. Miriam, who made the website beautiful. Nico, who does everything. Chris, who helped make sure that lots of communications went out. And Jessica, who does all the accounting, and Faith, and Amanda, and the vision train, and all the speakers, and all the artists, and all the ancestors, and the earth.
I'm Roxy, who leads us so well.
And Becca. Okay, now I'll let you introduce Becca, but he's gone, so I will finish the introduction. And next, I will introduce for another legendary Becca Dakini, set on the vision train. Amanda, what you got to say?
We love Becca on the vision train. It's the best. This is like the funnest time. I've been looking forward to this moment again, to get to paint and just be in this ecstatic creation space live together. It's really where we can integrate all the amazing things that have happened today and really bring it into the body, bring it into the work in any which way you wish to weave. And it's really special, this kind of integration. I think we have to do this forever and ever.
For everybody here, this is the vision train. It's mandatory that you grab now a pencil or a pen or a brush and that you paint something, that you express yourself while you listen to cool music.
And you can build, anything that you feel like, however your creativity wishes to flourish.
I'm going to dance personally.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to dance and paint because I like to do both.
Yeah.
I'm an and. I like to do the and.
And Tara, thank you for being with us from the very beginning until the very end. You were so brilliant. We love you.
So grateful. So love you all. And so excited for my first Dakini show. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Kick it up.
Yeah. Let me just kick off with saying that this is a really good, I think, framing for kind of closing out and kicking off the next phase, which is that even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. And so with that, let's have some joy. Let's do it. So yeah, let's go on a little journey. I'm so happy to be back here with you. There's been some amazing magic woven on the Vision Train between these amazing co-creators and artists. It's such an honor to be able to provide a soundtrack for such creation and collaboration. So yeah, I'm really happy to be back, and let's keep doing more of this. So let's see where we go tonight. And well done to everybody today. Well done, Roxy. Well done, Nico. Well done, Yorgis. Well done, Tara. Well done, everybody involved. What an amazing community you're part of. And I'm so happy to be able to contribute. So thank you. And let's play some tunes.
Thank you. Love you.
Thanks, everybody.
Choo-choo!